All right, folks. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Bucks of America podcast. The hat of the week is RPG Coffee. Make sure you go out and join their coffee club. The link is in my bio. So this way you can get some of the best coffee on the market. I recommend their Super Sticks, the Super Coffee. They are these little bad boys right here, instant coffee. And what makes them so unique is that they actually have aloe vera in them. So this way, when you drink them, it's not going to be a harsh taste to your stomach. But the best part is you can either drink it hot or cold. So this way, you don't have to have coffee necessarily when you walk out to the field, but you have coffee ready to go. And it's 220 milligrams of caffeine. So it is no joke when you're ready to rock and roll. But thank you for that little tidbit. But my guest today is Ben Klausman. And him and I have been chit-chatting for like the last, literally 30 minutes where I should actually hit the record button. But here we are. But it was a great preamble to our conversation because we actually have several awesome topics. But on top of that, too, it's just great to catch up with him. And I'm curious about, Ben, how you've been. How was your 2021 season?
Very good, man. Life's been great. I got 2 beautiful children, happy wife. We got an acreage. 2020 season was as close to a bust as you can get without it actually being a bust. I went out antelope hunting. I missed a goat by inches right in front of him. He was walking, stopped. I shot, and right before the arrow got there, he took a step back, just grazed him, got some hair on the ground. That's it. Fast forward to whitetail season, sitting in a tree stand, saw 4 to 5 shooter bucks. One came in right dead downwind of me, stopped at 32 yards for like a half a second before I could even draw my bow back, and he was gone. Mule deer season, saw the biggest buck of my life at about 100 yards, got to about 50 yards to only realize that he was 25 yards on private land. So I got to watch him sit there all happily on a hillside and watch me walk away with take soup. So...
Man, you had a rough year. I managed to get 1 doe, but I did come across my biggest buck of a lifetime for whitetail. And it's like, he came in on my right-hand side. He came upwind, and I was just bored. So I was like, well, I'll just bleat. And if there's a buck in the neighborhood and if he's horny, maybe I'll get him to come out. And I shit you not, 15 minutes later, here he comes, just trouncing out. And I'm looking at him. It's like, I thought about maybe making a quick rotation where I was standing in this little knot or this little elbow of a tree. And I just like, well, maybe I can stay still enough where he'll walk out and get in front of me. No, that wasn't the case, because as he came out underneath me, he got 15 yards broadside. I mean, I couldn't ask for a better shot, but he knew something was off, because I was just basically leaning on the other branch, like, just don't move. And I'm looking at the corner of my eye, and he's looking up, and he knows something's not quite right. And sure enough, he just turns around, walks back, goes the way he came. He did not snort wheeze at me. He did not stomp at me. He did not run away. It was just the most awe I've ever been seeing a mature buck that big. He was a solid 160, 170 class buck. Absolutely just awesome. And then a few months earlier than that, I was out setting, and my buddy of mine was setting in a different pasture, and he messaged me and saying that I saw something in my rangefinder that's walking towards you. And sure enough, it was his little basket 6. At the time, I just got a ghost blind, and he got within 7 yards, and he looked over and he saw himself in the mirror, freaked him out. That turned into a 45-minute experience. So where he's like, he saw himself, then he turned around and he walked backwards all the way around me where he got behind my big old oak tree. Then he came back around again, and he got parallel with me again. And then that's when he decided to jump up. And that's where he was snort wheezing and just jumping and bounding back and forth. Not even 15 minutes later, I see him come back out again 50 yards away. And it's like, and he just too far away for me to actually get an ethical shot, because like, well, it's still fairly early in the season. Haven't even hit right yet. So it's like, let's see what happens, because this is still in October. So I was like, let's see if we can make something happen here. And part of me regrets not pulling the trigger on it, but the other part is like, it was just a really cool experience, because that turned into a 50-minute ordeal where I couldn't do anything until after it hit dark, or he just disappeared, because I didn't want to blow the spot for the next day. So there it was. So,
and that's the beauty of archery hunting too, is that you get those experiences and they don't always have to end up in a kill. That's the thing that I've realized over the 15 years that I've been hunting. I have some of the best experiences of my life without actually drawing blood. So,
Oh, 100%, man. And so what's been going on this post hunting season into 2022 here?
So now I'm in what I would call is the busy season for me. So there's no hunting going on, but I still have to try to produce content. So basically now is where I kind of shift fully from hunting content to archery content, which is nice about running a archery / bow hunting page. So during hunting season, I have very strong hunting presence, getting up, going hunting, in the blind, deer, archery, broadhead tuning, all that stuff. But now I don't have anything to go hunting for. So I have to just shift my whole mindset from hunting strategies, hunting plans to shot process, arrow building, broadhead tuning, setting your bow up, getting strings on, stuff like that. So it's a completely 180-degree turn, and I have to work a lot harder because the amount of content I'm putting out, I need to make it takes me about an hour and a half to get everything filmed about once a week. So in order to edit everything the way I need it and then put it on my page the way it goes, it just is a lot more of a process when I'm not hunting, because obviously I make time for hunting and then I make time to make content. So that's kind of where I'm at now. I'm waiting for turkey season to start, which is this weekend. So hopefully I'll be tagged out right away, Saturday morning, and then just back on the grind.
Nice. I missed our deadline back in December, so now I'm just kind of hoping to get something over the counter. And I was going to go to Walmart tonight and get that, but it's like I had to make sure I eat and then meet up with you. So I'm going to just do that tomorrow. Hopefully I'll be able to get some, because I go to Wisconsin's Go Wild, which is kind of weird because the Go Wild app came out first, but since they're the DNR, it's like we're not going to change. And their website still has me listed as a non-resident, even though I'm a resident. It's just freaking weird. So I actually have to go to a vendor and go that route. When I went in last week on Thursday, they're only doing zone 4. And like Wisconsin has like 8 different zones, which is kind of weird, but the biggest 2 is zone 1 and zone 2. So I'm in zone 2 and my buddy's up in Green Bay. It's up in zone 1. And I want to go up and hunt with him up there in Green Bay, just because it'd be fun to hunt in a completely different area. He's highly successful. So it'd be just fun to hang out with him and bullshit with him and such. And you and I were talked earlier about this, about a potential Miriam hunt, and that we were talking back in February, and then pitching you the idea. And if you want to come along with us, and then we decided, like, Bish, with his schedule, he's not going to be able to have the time off to be able to dedicate to the hunt down there. And otherwise we'd be there right now, because the season goes active. It's already live for bow season. So now this hunt is now postponed until 2023, where it's go time, where he's got everything planned on his end, and I can go whenever I want. So I have a very independent wife, so she lets me do a lot of fun shit.
That's nice. My wife is very independent as well, but with 2 small children, I don't do a lot of trips, but I generally try to do like 1 or 2 big hunting trips a year. So this year, as my big 3D shoot is out. I'm going out to Wyoming for a mountain archery fest event out. I can't remember where it's at. But it's a new event. It's only like 10 hours away, where all the other ones are over 15 plus hours away.
Yeah.
And so I'm really excited to get out there and shoot the mountain. They said it's a great course. And then my other big trip is actually a North Dakota mule deer hunt.
Oh, exciting.
I got a buddy. His page is Arrow Tuning Kit. So he sells like all you would need to tune an arrow. He sells like 3 to 12 packs of vanes, nocks, wraps, inserts, outserts, like all the stuff that you need to build the arrow that you want to use. Mm-hmm. And so he's like, hey man, I'm trying to put together a North Dakota mule deer hunt. You interested? And I was like, yeah, let's go. So I got to actually apply before April 15th or 16th.
Okay.
And then it's still a draw, so I might not be able to go, but he's like, it's like a really good chance that you'll draw. So I'm really excited for that.
So now in North Dakota, do you draw by units or counties? How does that work in that state?
So from the way he made it sound, and I haven't looked into this yet, I think it's a statewide archery tag. So like South Dakota, the way you draw archery is East or West River, or a statewide. So you can buy one statewide, or you can buy an East and a West River. So I always buy one of each, because I make enough trips out West River, I might as well hunt it.
Okay.
But I think for archery, at least, you can apply for statewide, because it's archery. Your success is much lower than a rifle, so they don't mind dishing out more of them. So,
which makes sense, because I mean that's a lot of wide open area there. I've gone through South Dakota. I mean we've talked on the previous podcast that I still have family that lives out in Sioux Falls, so it's like I know I know what it's like, but it's such unique territory because it's very rolling. It's not flat, not until you get to Nebraska. Otherwise, it's a lot of rolling up and down. And also when you get from I-35 and 90 strange interchange there, it becomes quite flat between there and the South Dakota border because I've driven all that area, and it's like you can fall asleep and not miss that portion of the state. So everything between here, pretty much from West La Crosse all the way to Albert Lee, and that's where it's like it's twists, turns, ups and downs, and then it goes flat.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. And then honestly, the best part of South Dakota is there's a ton of different parts of the state. So like if you get out to the Black Hills, it makes you feel like you're in Colorado. But then you get I don't know, maybe 15 to 20 miles east of the Black Hills, and you feel like you're in Nevada. Like it's just, or New Mexico, like it's just flat, like almost no water, not a lot of, a little hilly, but nothing like absolutely crazy. And so it's really fun to be able to hunt like two completely different zones in the same day.
That is a good perspective on that. That makes things fun. You get to experience different parts, stuff like that. And I never looked into South Dakota turkey tags. What's the process of getting a South Dakota turkey tag?
So from my understanding is they're pretty much over the counter for archery. Like there's no draw. I literally last week I purchased a tag and then it showed up in the mail like 3 days later. So
oh, nice.
For archery, it's like 100% draw odds. If you want to even call it a draw, it's just like a purchase, and you can buy it at Walmart or anywhere. Uh-huh. It's just they're pretty much begging people to come out and try to shoot turkeys because South Dakota's got some turkeys, but they're hard to hunt, especially East River. Like it's hard.
Mm-hmm. Wisconsin's weird because it's like you actually have to, even for archery, you have to put in for a specific week, and then if you don't get it, then it just kind of drops down the list between the weeks between April all the way up until the end of May. Now Minnesota, you get your one archery tag, it'll last you the entire season. Which is where if you're gun hunting though, you have to pick your week and buy it's the week you go, but you have to apply for it. It's quite weird. I don't understand it because even in the fall for archery tag here in Wisconsin, it doesn't matter. You just buy it over the counter, good to go. I wish I had my buddy buy one last year because he actually had turkeys within 10 yards. Didn't even know he was there, but he didn't. I've never seen turkeys where he was sitting at when we were hunting on public land here in Wisconsin, and he watched it for a solid like 2 hours. It's like, dude, it's like I want to shoot one, but I can't because obviously it doesn't have a tag for it. But it was just really cool, and it's like a nice thing is like this upcoming season, I'm going to sit right where he was sitting at. Hopefully nobody else gets the same idea as I do. I don't know I primarily hunt the area for whitetail. So I'm not a very good turkey caller. So it's like, well, I'm going to have my buddy Craig with me. So once we get our tags, we'll go from there.
Interesting. So I've never hunted fall turkey before, but from what my buddy said is he's like, you pretty much just have to like stumble across them. Like calling doesn't work because it's not their breeding time. Correct. So he's like, just don't call. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to buy a turkey tag if I can't call. Like, I don't see the point in that. But ours is the same kind of way with spring turkey is your archery season starts this weekend. I think rifle season starts or shotgun season starts next weekend. So you have pretty much a whole week of no guns, just like every other archery season. And then, but it's just as soon as the season's open, you're open until it closes. You don't have to pick a week or nothing, but
I like that. It's so much more freedom, freeing. So this way you're not trying to dedicate and try to get your time off for this X amount of time, and this way where it's like, where if you have stuff that come up, well, hey, I got several more weeks and such to get out there. And when I was watching the most recent Meat Eater show, Steve Ranella was with his buddy down there in South Carolina, I believe it was North Carolina. It was the last weekend of the season and stuff like that. And he was talking about the psychology about the turkeys and how most of them are all henned up or already bred and stuff like that. But there's still some toms out there. And so you can still call and try to get them in. And at those points, those birds are even far hornier than they are in the beginning of the season because, well, they can have a chance to nut,
Yeah. And I've actually heard the last couple weeks of archery or of turkey season is usually the best, which I'm like, I've had success opening morning and I've had success a couple weeks in, but I've always either quit or I just haven't had time in the late season. So I'm really excited this year with the new job that I have. I'm going to be hunting every weekend that I can. And I don't have anything else to do besides, stuff my wife wants to do, but
Mm-hmm.
she'll let me do what I want to do sometimes.
Well, yeah, because I did see that you got a new job. It's like, it's funny because we've been friends on Facebook forever, but I see more of your content on your Instagram page than you do on your Facebook page. But I actually had to go into the settings and change them so this way actually shows up on my feed, because Facebook is really weird about the folks that really have to be outdoors, that you actually have to go one step deeper to make sure they show up on your feed. It's like, what the French doors is going on here? Because it's like, I knew you were working for Hy-Vee, then you got your new position. I just saw it today too, but I can't remember your new position. So
my new position, I actually work for the state of South Dakota. The technical term is a disabled veteran outreach program specialist. So basically my job is I get to work with homeless, unemployed, disabled veterans, and I help them with their housing. I help them with the VA, and I help them get a job.
oh, that's awesome. You'd actually, yeah. I should get you in touch with Ryan Lundgren. He does the Frag Out podcast where he primarily deals with a lot of veterans and such like that. And he having you on that would just kind of shine a light to South Dakota and such. And I think that'd be a good partnership for you guys to come on his podcast and have that conversation. I think he's going to be there that same weekend if you're able to make it out for the Toma Warren shoot. So this way, then I can just meet and greet, because it's for us creators, as I should say. One is the content creator, but we're creators in our own way. Like I do everything. Well, I'm multimedia now, so it's like I do everything. So it's like when you talk about a busy and slow season, I don't have that. So what I do is I'm booked out for like the next 6 weeks. I'm doing podcasts on Sundays and Mondays. I have a 6 podcasts in the hopper, just to be just as displayed. I just finished up yesterday's podcast with Matt from V. So I just been grinding, man. I figured like I made a commitment to myself last year to just consistently drop content every single week. I'm kind of lacking on my Friday podcast with cooking, but these podcasts that I've done, these last few ones, they just didn't make sense. It was face to face, or it was going to be over the phone, and it's like they're not really chefs. They're not very confident. They don't really have any solid recipes to provide me that they wanted to brag about. So it's like, that's perfectly fine with me. I'm not going to force you. Just an opportunity for that to do, because you've seen some of the people that come up with some fantastic items on my page. I like that. I had it was his servant podcast. It's what's his name? His name's John. What was his last name? It's escaping my mind, but he is he's in the service on Fort Benning down there in Georgia. And come on, as I'm bringing up my feed here. Oh, John Duffield. He gave me a recipe where what you do is you take a tenderloin, and you take and you cut it and you roll it out. And then you put in a bunch of awesome ingredients, and you roll it back together, and then you brown it, or you can bake it however you see fit. The podcast is only like 10 minutes long, and he gave me a video and the recipe for everybody to do it. And you, let's see here, you saute up some onions. You can do mushrooms if you want, but the brown sugar and the cream cheese is what really kicks it off. It may not be the most appealing to the eye, but when you take that bite and you get all that flavor wrapped into it, he says it's absolutely delicious. And he says his wife and his kids love it. So he gets to hunt down there in Fort Benning on the base. So then we talked about what he can and cannot do on that podcast on the base, and it's like they're very liberal about bringing people in to hunt the pigs, because that's one of their biggest issues and stuff like that, is getting after those pigs in there, because they not only do they destroy the base, but they also destroy the wildlife as well, because they're just so evasive down there, and it's like there's no winning against them. It's like you can literally throw hand grenades and not make a dent.
Yeah, so I was in Fort Benning for basic, and then when I got to Texas, that was the biggest regret that I have, is I did almost no hunting in Texas, which I'm like, looking back, I'm like, I missed a huge opportunity because the base was open. But I didn't bring my bow down. I didn't want to mess with the things that I had to do living on base with having the bow. Because my mentality is, yeah, sure, I'll leave my bow with somebody else and let them mess it all up. And then when I go to use it, it takes me the entire session to figure out what they did wrong with it. So I was just like, I'm just I'll hunt when I come home. Otherwise, I'm just gonna not mess with bringing my stuff down here, because there's a whole process. You have to, if you live on post, and you have to store your weapons in the armory, and then in order to get your weapons, you have to find the armor to unlock it. And anytime after duty, it's hard as heck to find an armor. So it's like, no, I'm not even gonna mess with it. It's just gonna get broke, and then I'm gonna have to buy a new one. So
that's where you should. I don't know how long you were stationed there, but you probably been easier just to become an armorer yourself. So this way, then you have access to it, so you can get whatever you need to.
So I was actually this close to doing that, and actually one of my buddies. So I deployed, and one of my buddies didn't. He had some family issues happening, and so when I got back, they were like, "Hey, we need to send some people to armor school," and I was like, "Volunteer, volunteer, volunteer." And they were like, "Well, you just got back from deployment. You need to like figure your stuff out. We're gonna send him instead." And I was like, "No, like that's all I wanted to do." But it's all good. He was a good friend of mine, and he's actually still in. He's been deployed 3 or 4 times. He's a staff sergeant now, or first class. Like he climbed up the chain, so he's doing really well. But that's always the joke that I played with him. I was like, well, I'm just gonna call you every night when I want to come lock my bow up. And he's like, I'm not answering anymore because you call too much. So
that's just how it goes and such, man. So now you got involved with what they call the cold shot. Why don't you tell the audience what you were telling me about it, because it looks like a lot of fun.
So the Cold Shot Challenge is something that me and State Raps and Bloodlines Outdoors actually came up with last summer. And so it was just meant to be like a little fun game between me and State Raps and Bloodline. We were just going to shoot against each other on Instagram to see who's the best shot. You know, you only get one shot. We're going to see who the best one is. And that kind of turned into a single elimination bracket style event that we do now. We're actually kind of partnering with Mountain Archery Fest. I'm not going to give away too much because there's actually a lot of details that we are working on for this summer yet. And I don't want to divulge any of those, but I mean, the hint is we're working with Mountain Archery Fest. So there's going to be stuff including Mountain Archery Fest. I believe we're trying to figure out a way to do an actual cold shot challenge at a Mountain Archery Fest event, which means you come, you sign up, your first shot of the day, and then you can actually have the opportunity to win real prizes, meaning stuff from their sponsors. I know they're like Vortex, HHA is a sponsor of them as well. PSE Bows, Initially Sent, Bow Hitch. There's a bunch of sponsors, a whole list of sponsors, State Raps. There's a whole bunch of different sponsors. And so the idea is that we'll be able to go there and shoot at the event and then have the opportunity to, if you win first place, you get a prize. But anyways, I go off track. So the Cold Shot Challenge right now is basically you get paired randomly with someone on Instagram who also wants to shoot. You guys decide a time you want to shoot. You guys decide a distance you want to shoot, and you decide who's going to post a live. Then you go on live together. So you guys are both shooting face to face, and you shoot at whatever distance you guys decided.
Hey everyone, Jake with HHA Sports. We got some exciting news today. Our new Tetra line of bow sights, the Tetra LT, and the Tetra Max are going to be compatible with the new UltraView scopes. So we'll be selling the Windage along with our Infinite Adjust plate to make the UltraView compatible with all of our Tetra line sights. So you'll be able to take a Tetra Max, a Tetra LT. You can also take the Tetra Max in a Hunter Edition frame or a Dovetail, and the same with the Tetra. So you'll have a bunch of different options to put your favorite scope along with your favorite frame of your choice. So when you're looking to make the UltraView compatible with any of our Tetra line sights, you're going to want to make sure that you buy the complete kit that we're going to be selling. We'll be selling it to dealers as well on our website. You're going to want to make sure that you're getting the Infinite Adjust plate and the Windage. It's important that we use our Windage system, as that is the one that will be compatible with the UltraView scope. So when you're looking at purchasing a complete sight to get with the UltraView, you can either convert your current Tetra over to fit the UltraView. You'll need the Windage then. And if you're looking at completely starting from scratch, buying one of our sights and putting the UltraView scope on it, you'll want to purchase one of our Tetra 900 frames, which, as I mentioned before, you can get it in a variety of different options. You can visit our website to see all the details there. So along with a new piece that we'll be selling to make the UltraView compatible with the HHAs, you're still going to get all of the features that you would normally get in an HHA sight. You'll get your second access completely independent from your 20-yard elevation adjustments on the infinite adjust bracket. Still get third access. All the features that you're accustomed to seeing in an HHA sight, you'll still get with an UltraView scope. You can check the video in our description to see how we installed the UltraView scope onto a Tetra 900 frame. So the HHA components on this sight do carry 100% lifetime warranty, just as any other HHA product does. This is a product that we're really excited to introduce to you, and really excited to partner up with UltraView on this project. For more information, you can visit our website at www.hhasports.com.
And then the winner moves on to the next round. The loser's done. The kicker is it has to be the first shot of the day. You can't warm up. There's no practice shots. It's like the way we describe it is you're hunting. You're not going to, before you go to the field at 6 a.m. in the morning, you're not going to shoot 5 arrows quick just to make sure you're feeling good. You're going to get your bow, put it in the truck, and you're going to head to the field. So we're trying to simulate that first shot of the day. You're getting off work late. You're busting out to the stand. That first shot is the only one that matters. And that's the entire purpose of the Cold Shot Challenge. We do broadhead. We do all different distances. So me and Jeff were actually just talking about this. You don't need to have a certain amount of distance in your yard. Last summer, we did as close as 8 yards, and we did as far as 100 yards, 110 yards maybe. So the distance does not matter. The shot placement is all that matters. We came up with a fancy target. It's a circular target with numbers on it, so you can tell immediately who is closer. Before we were doing it with a tape measure, but this is so much simpler. State Wraps, Brian over at State Wraps came up with this idea, and it looks amazing, and it's super easy to tell. But the whole concept is you're training to hunt, you know. So we've had people that do 10 push-ups, 10 sit-ups, squats, and then shoot their shot. We've had people that run and then do their squat and then do their shot. We've had people that are way back at 100 yards do their shot. Last year, I actually almost got a ground blind shot set up where we both had a ground blind, and we're going to do a broadhead 32-yard shot, like a very normal shot in the field in a ground blind, sitting down with a broadhead, shooting at a deer or whatever target you have. And that ended up not working out because the day we did it, it was super windy and I didn't want to break my blind. I'm actually in the process of trying to set up a tree stand shot to where you shoot from an actual tree stand. So, I mean, it's as creative as you want to get, and it's super fun. Right now, me and Bloodlines Outdoors are coming out with the brackets, and we're doing every 2 to 2.5 weeks a new one drops. So it's a 16-man bracket now instead of 32. But I say, man, 16-person bracket. We've had this last round, we had a 13-year-old kid. The time before that, we had a couple 8-year-old kids. We have women, children. Everybody's welcome as long as you guys agree upon the distance. And the 13-year-old kid that did it actually made it to like the final four. Like, he was a good shot. Nice. He was shooting like 50, 60 yards. Like, he was good. So anybody's welcome, but it's really just dependent on how far you and your partner are willing to shoot. So we're doing about every 2.5 to 3 weeks, 16-man rotating bracket. And then we just start, as soon as one bracket starts, we start building the next one. And we just build up. And then when it's time to launch, the other one's over, the new one launches, and then we start building the next one. So the next bracket is going to be starting. I'm probably going to start building it tomorrow, honestly, so then we can launch it on Monday. So it's just something that's really, really fun to do. It's good experience. You get to meet people from all over the country, all over the world. Last year, we had somebody shooting from South Africa, Australia. I think those are the only 2 international ones. But then, you know, everybody across the nation, New Mexico, Florida, Colorado, Texas, South Dakota, Minnesota, everywhere. People shooting from everywhere. So it's really fun. It doesn't cost anything. However, we are working on a paid bracket where you'll actually get money out of it. It's a $10 buy-in. And then whoever wins gets 60% of the entire buy-in. So do the quick math, 100 people buy in, you know, or $100 of people buy in, that's 10 people, you get $60 right off the bat just for entering and winning. So there's definitely some prizes that we're working on, but we're trying to keep it in the spirit of bettering the archery community. So there will always be a free version that we put on Instagram. It will never go fully cost, because the entire purpose of it is to meet new people in the industry, to practice, to try to better ourselves as archers. It has absolutely nothing to do with winning. However, you know, it's pretty cool to say that you beat 16 other people in a cold shot.
I think it's awesome. What you guys do is phenomenal. It's beautiful. I mean, really, emphasizes on the culture and the camaraderie, and then this has a potential of creating all different kinds of. It's a nice thing about archery. There's no division. It's like I've seen kids outshoot me, and they're 10 years younger than I am. Now, keep in mind they have 10-year-old eyes, where I have 40-year-old eyes, staring in front of laptops and computers for the last 20 years. But not jealous or anything. But it's something that really I can really appreciate that vibe, because it's really cool. And I'm going to definitely be signing up for it, because I think this would be a lot of fun. And I think my wife, I should need to get her involved with it too. It's just getting her actually getting her shoot first before we do the cold shot. But I think once she feels confident to be able to be on being live and doing it for it, I think she would have a blast, because she is so much fun, and she gets competitive. So she might volunteer for the $10 bracket type scenario, and then this way then they can go from there, and we can always work stuff out. I like it. I think I think you guys are on something.
And that we're hoping we are too. But like I said, it's not about it's an awesome idea that we came up with because we wanted to grow the archery community. So like, for example, last year we tried to separate it with like an adults bracket and a woman's bracket and then a kids bracket. And we're like, we're running 3 brackets at a time. This is crazy. Why are we doing this? We're also running 32-man brackets. So we're like, okay, how are we going to fill 32-man brackets every 3 or 4 weeks? Well, it was also a problem because it would take 3 or 4 weeks to go through that whole bracket. So this year we kind of cut it down. We're able to put more out. We cut it down to 16-man bracket, and there's no segregation whatsoever. If you're a 10-year-old kid and you want to shoot, absolutely. If you're a female, you want to shoot, absolutely. You might be going against somebody else. You're not going to be shooting against people with the same poundage bows, same sights, none of that. But the requirement is hunting gear only. So you can't have, normal hunting stuff, like 12 to 15 inch stabilizer up front is maximum. No lenses, no magnifiers, nothing that is considered target. So we've actually had people that, like this last bracket, I got a message and they're like, hey, what do I do? This guy said the only bow that he has set up is a target rig. And I said, sorry, he's disqualified. You guys can still go on live and shoot, but he's automatically disqualified because you're not going to hunt with that bow. Why would we let you do a cold shot with that bow? I don't care who you are. You're not hunting with a target bow.
No, you're not.
Most states you can't even have lenses or magnifiers or any of that stuff. So it's like, we're not going to give you that advantage. It is just for fun, but it takes the competitive out of it. If I'm shooting 20 yards every day, a target archer is going to beat me every single time because they're used to shooting 20 yards at a penny. So it's no fun for everybody. This way, everyone's on a level playing field. There's no extras. If you think you hunt with it, you can use it. But limitations apply. But that's the beauty of it. You can shoot against anybody: kids, women, adults, males, fat guys, skinny guys, professional athletes. Redbeard Outdoors has actually been on it a couple times. He's a great guy. He actually does a podcast too. I think you guys would get along very well. He's very family oriented. He's a great guy, but he's been on a couple times, and he's the one that's like, we should be doing air squats. Or one time he went on live as he's pulling into the place he's going to shoot, and he goes, "Yeah, I just got done working out for the last hour and a half. Now I'm going to do a cold shot." And I'm just like, I'd be dead after an hour and a half workout, let alone go shoot my bow.
Yeah.
And so it's crazy the atmosphere that we bring, and it's always fun, and there's always a ton of people tuning in, and we have a group chat that all the active shooters are in, and we just chat each other up all week. And any questions, you can DM me or Outdoor Bloodlines Outdoors. Like I said, we're kind of running the thing right now, and it's just a blast. Get on it while you can, guys.
That is fantastic. What I should reach out to Jeremy Fisher. He runs the Toxon app, like I was telling you about. I think putting this competition on that app it'll help work for both of you. Do you know how awesome that would be?
That would be nuts, dude. I didn't even think about putting it on an app. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, just these little quirky things to bring in all ages to enhance the culture. I think I know he'd be on it 100% because him and I almost talk on the daily. Like, because I've been trying to not only bolster my page, but also his, because I really believe in this app. And it's like, after you have a chance to look through it, and I've had it downloaded since last summer. I finally wrote a review on it, but I've actually gone and done videos on it to show different features of the whole process. And then what it has to offer is pretty neat. And he's got his own bow shop. It's Badger State Outdoors up there in Eau Claire. So he is an archer at heart, and he makes a living in the archery world, but he just said there's not a app like this out on the market. And I think this is a beautiful thing to jump onto. And Toxon is Greek for bow or arrow.
I read that. Did you post that today?
I did.
I saw that today, and I was like, no way. I actually downloaded the app after it was a couple weeks ago. You posted it on your story, and I messaged you right away. I was like, what app is this? I'm downloading it now because I had 3 or 4 different apps of like arrow velocity, bow speed, FOC measurements, all these different apps that you needed. I had one on my Android, but when I switched to Apple, I had to download like all these links and everything. So as soon as I found that app, I was like, mine, I'm taking it now. I'll pay whatever it is. I'm taking it. So I'm really looking forward to using that this year. And I still haven't had a lot of time to play with it, but I will be playing with that soon. So shout out to him for creating an awesome app.
Yeah, that's a nice thing. It's like a unique thing. It's very specific. It's very driven. And so him and I were going back and forth. I found a bug that needed to be fixed. So I think he's got that worked out with the phone number and stuff because it was giving me different giving me issues. So figured it all out and got it worked out. But the cool thing is like you can actually go in there, put your IBO rating in there, what your poundage and stuff like that. He even actually asks you to include the D loop and the peep sight. And I didn't know it's like between the two of them, that's anywhere between 12 to 15 grains. It's like I didn't realize it had that kind of weight to it. I thought it was very surprising.
Yeah, it super is. And then depending on what bowstrings you're using, they'll have different weight amounts on there. So it's like, and then if you have like a nose button or a kisser, different D-loop material, if you're tying in your D-loops, I mean, there's a ton of different factors when it goes into actual weight of your strings. And I usually put in around 30 to 40 pound or 30 to 40 grains. So I usually split it right at 35 just to be safe because I'd rather have it heavier than lighter. But I actually bought a chronograph. I have it in my garage right now this winter. And that has been really fun to play with. I'm not gonna lie.
I believe me, my wife will let me buy one. It's like I'm because like I have my own account, so I might buy one just to have it because I've always been in the outdoor or in the paintball world. So having a chronograph has always been kind of always used to having, but then it's like, well, no, I don't play paintball as much as I used to, but it's like now it's like, well, I can get one for archery. It's like this will be fun because it's like I actually have a bigger place where I can actually set up a little shop where I can start tinkering and all that fun stuff. And it leads me into my next topic. I was talking to Matt Futery from a veteran or VIP archery, and he has actually created a brand new insert where you can actually come with aluminum, brass, or steel inserts. And it actually has a locking neck mechanism. So let's say you're shooting, you destroy your arrow. You can actually take that insert out and put it in a new arrow. And since a lot of products are being outsourced to Vietnam, to the Philippines or China, he's the only one that's all sourced stateside. So he's able to get it to the shops quicker. And it's going to save so much time because now they don't have to glue that insert in. So it's like that insert now could be transferable. So I have to go buy a new set of arrows and start playing with this stuff. He sent me out a box of goodies, so I'm looking forward to getting that in the mail and tinkering with all that fun stuff. And then I don't know, have you been paying attention to Zinger? Zinger's been like their fletchings are pretty cool because it's a plastic or a silicone fletching, and it has either 3, 4, or 6. Fins on it where it actually just takes and just slides over the vein in the back, so you actually don't have to worry about gluing anything. So it's like if you want to swap that fletching out, you pull it off, put a new one on. That's how simple it is.
So I've actually had a couple people message me and they're like, hey, you should check these Zingers out. And every time I'm just like, I just don't know if I can give up the process of fletching arrows. Like that is so like zen, peaceful, and it's a lot more work and a lot more expensive. Trust me, because I don't like unfletching arrows. So when I want to play with arrows, I buy a new dozen and I play with them that way. Okay. And so it's like it's way more expensive, but it is so like there's just a different piece to building arrows yourself rather than. And the Zingers look like they're a really good idea. I'm not knocking them at all. Like that's genius. Mm-hmm. Instead of buying all the jig and the glue and the veins and everything, you buy a pack of that for probably cheaper and throw it on, and then you can just keep using them regardless if you break your arrows.
Correct. That's the thing, but it kind of crosses that middle ground, because you have guys like yourself. There's a lot more guys out there that prefer your method. Then you have people that will live in apartments, don't have a lot of space, but also like to do archery. And this is a good way to cut their costs, but allow them to play around with different stuff. So it gives them an opportunity to tinker, but also too, if they're depending on what kind of relationship they have with their wife and what kind of income level they're at, it also opens that level of flexibility too as well.
Well, it's definitely something I've been meaning to order, just because like I've said before, I'm a tinkerer. I tinker with everything. I've done complete bow modifications in the middle of hunting season because I'm going to try it. Why not? And so it's something that I definitely need to get, and I just need to pull the trigger and do it, because I have enough arrows. I got like close to probably a dozen bear shaft right now of a different arrow that I don't shoot anymore, but I could easily set that up to shoot some of these zingers and just play around with them. I got enough bows. I mean, I could definitely play with them. There's something about, even when I don't need arrows, I'll come out and I'll build arrows, just because it's so peaceful and zen, and just turn some tunes on. And by the end, you just spin that thing and it's just a perfect spiral, and just, it's like that salt guy with the meat where he does that thing. It's just, it's perfect.
I think it's a good opportunity with all that stuff here, and I'm looking forward to I'm hoping everything is going on. But I think that if I want to bring, like I talked prior to the conversation kicking off, but I want to bring in Seth that helps run the one shot, or not the one shot, but the weekly shot for bow hunting league, the bow hunting league. I think it'd be kind of good to bring more attention to this right here, just to kind of build that popularity. And then it's like, a nice thing is that there's people that want to volunteer for it. That's a good way to be able to do that. And it's like, you guys already have a system down, and doing 16-man bracket is very simple. 8 and ready to go. And then this way, then you can start branching off to begin the next bracket if they get still get that niche and that bug to get after it here. Now, this is where I want to go into the next thing here. It's like advanced outdoor technologies, man. I've been following these guys, and you know more about them than I do. And I want to hear your story. I want to hear your point of view.
So advanced outdoor technology is, I think I might have misspoke when we talked about it earlier, but I think we started following each other, and I didn't really understand what he did. It was one of the, I don't want to sound like a jerk, but it was one of the big booms I had, where I had a lot of followers kind of coming at once. So I think he kind of got lost in the shuffle, and I just, I didn't know what he did. So I was walking out of my tree stand one afternoon after most of a morning, half a day sit to get lunch. And as I'm rounding the shelter belt, I look up and I see a shooter buck standing about 50 yards from me. And I'm like, oh, this is great, perfect. And I go to reach for my thumb button, and I had put it in the zipper on the backside of my bino harness. So then I look up, see this buck, and to get to my release, I have to unzip, pull out, clip on, and draw. And that's just too much movement. The buck's gone, c'est la vie. So I get back to my truck and I hop on my live. It's, I don't know, noon, 1 o'clock, something like that. And I hop on my live and I tell the story, and I'm like, somebody just needs to come out with something that you can mount on your bow that you can put your thumb release on. Because I'm sick of forgetting my release in the truck. I'm sick of not having it accessible when I'm going on a stalk or whatever. Someone just needs to do it. That's not going to fall off. Not 2 minutes after this thing drops, Advanced Outdoor Technologies literally messaged me, and he goes, "Hey, what kind of release do you have?" And I'm Hot Shot X Spot. It's the one I've been using. I'm still using it. I love it. It's a great release. And he goes, "Okay, hold on a second." A couple days go by, maybe a week, and I get a message from him, and he goes, "Hey, just so you know, this release mount," and he sends me a link, "will fit your Hot Shot release." And I was like, okay, hold up. So I clicked on it, and I was like, this is the answer to my prayers. I ordered it that night. It came in a couple days later, and I was just floored. I was like, so I messaged him, and I was like, how long have you had this out? And he's like, I've had it out for a while.
Do you have your bow with you with that mount? Grab it. This is going to be redistributed on YouTube, so might as well show people.
Absolutely. I got a couple other perks on too. Maybe you can see them too.
Yeah, let's do it.
So there's the mount. If you can see that.
I do. I see it.
So here's my Hot Shot X Spot.
Oh, look at that. It just clicks right into play.
Yep. It's fully magnetized. So there's a magnet there. And then if you look on the front, if you can see that without me breaking a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I can see
right
it. I see the
there.
latch.
That's
yeah.
also magnetized. So there's the front part of the magnet, right? Well, for double security, it latches in like this.
Oh, beautiful.
So this is the demo I always do.
Oh, perfect.
And then just to solve people's fears.
Oh shit, that's some powerful magnets.
Yeah, like this thing is not. This is not coming out anywhere. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I see that.
It's solid. So I as soon as I found it, I was like, heck yes, order me one. And specific for Hot Shot, I don't have any other releases, but this is a new Tempest. I just got this. It also fits.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, I'm like in love. I have a Haze too, and I think this actually, it kind of fits, but the nose is not quite long enough. So that's, if I had to say there was one downfall of this product, it's not universal. So every one of these that he makes has to be specifically fitted for the thumb that you're using. Other than that, it's honestly, it is a perfect thing. So you can mount it on your stabilizer like I have it. You can see it just screws onto your stabilizer hole. But then you can also take this hook part off and you can mount it directly on your sight. So you can mount it right up here too if you wanted to.
Okay.
Now, I can't because I have the bow hitch on here.
Okay.
So if you can see this,
yeah,
I have the bow hitch on. So it makes my sight sink too far in, so I'm not able to mount it on my bow, which it doesn't matter to me. The bow hitch is worth every bit of space you think you're losing. Have you ever heard of the bow hitch, Jeff?
Yes, I've seen it. Yeah.
Okay, good. This is the best invention I've seen in a long time. It's very similar to this. I'm really only into things that make your life easier. I don't like flashy stuff. Isn't nothing. If it doesn't have a practical purpose, I don't care about it. This is a super practical purpose. I went on a 2.5 mile goat stalk last year, and my arm was 100% fresh because my bow was hanging like this the entire time. It's the best thing in the world. So those are kind of the two hacks that I religiously use because you can't lose if we're being honest. You just can't. So a couple other things that I'm trying out right now. So the guy that runs Bonus Ring.
All right.
I want to make sure to put that on there so people can look it up. He was like, hey man, I heard you're doing a giveaway. Would you be interested in giving away a bonus ring? And I was like, I don't really do giveaways for products that I've never used before. So let me order one and I'll see if I like it or not. And then I'll kind of get back to you from there. So I ordered an orange bonus ring. And the whole purpose behind this is when you're at full draw, sometimes you have that little gap in your peep sight where you can see around your sight.
All right. Yeah, I know what you mean.
So this is supposed to fill that gap. I haven't shot it at distance. Right now, my 20-yard pin is, I don't see a lot of gap because the way it's seated on my peep, I'm a little crunched in. So I'm excited to kind of put it out to like 60, 50, 60, 70 yards and see that gap kind of open up. But I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. I'm excited to try it. And I don't see it hurting anything, It's just going to give you a more consistent sight picture and anchor point. So that's one thing I'm super stoked about.
Is it plastic or silicone?
So it's like I got the instructions right here. What did I do with it? It is sight ring enhancer vibration dampener, glows in the dark, 100% silicone.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's 100% silicone, and the concept of it is great. And honestly, the reason that I was really interested in it was because I remember with my Matthews, I had just a slight ring, and I was fine because I always just did the peep to the top. So I would always make sure the top of my peep was at the top of the sight, and that was my consistent anchor point. And I think I got an HHA sight on here now, and I think that might be a little bit bigger scope, so I don't have that ring as much.
All right.
But I still think it's going to be a sweet addition just because any of that daylight that might get in there that might veer that inconsistency is going to be eliminated with this. So I threw it on just today. Actually, I just got it in the mail. So I'm going to play with that for a couple weeks, and then I'm excited for it. I mean, it's going to be it's a good addition regardless. So
That's what I like, those solid additions there. Now I went with the Bow Spider out of Montana, and they're going to be on the podcast as well down the road in May. But it's like it's the same concept of the bow hitch. I just like the fact that it's like I can have multiple mounting points, whether it be on my hip or on my pack. So it's like I like that feature of having that flexibility. And the bow hitch has the same flexibility too, where it's like it sets comfortably in your armpit. So like both of them, it's just like it just comes down to what your price point is essentially.
Yep. So interesting story about that. I've never tried a bow spider. I have no opinion on it. Honestly, when I got to MAF is when I met the bow hitch guys, Armando with the bow hitch, super good guys. And he was like, hey, try this one. It was a bright orange one that I put on my Matthews because it was pretty much all orange. And he was like, try this one, see what you think. And I was like, perfect, thanks. I came down the mountain. I said, here's my money. Take it. I'm taking this hitch. And so fast forward a year later, and now me and Armando are great friends. I text him. We message each other all the time. Like, we're good friends. And so I was talking to him one day, and I was like, hey, man, have you heard of this bow spider? What do you think of this? And he goes, honestly, we're a direct competitor. And I was like, yeah, I know. That's why I'm asking you. Like, what do you think? Yeah. And he goes, what I think is, I think the guys that run the bow spider are the most stand-up dudes that I've ever met. And I was like, whoa, what's up? Talk to me. So he was at a MAF or a TAC event, Total Archery Challenge event, where him and the bow spider guys were like right next to each other in the booth. Okay. And so he was like, this is going to be awkward. Like, we sell like a very similar product. Like, who's going to, and it was like halfway through the first day, the founder of the bow spider comes up to me and goes, hey man, my name's so-and-so, what's yours? And they start talking. And the dude's just like, Armando's like, he just started dropping like industry secrets on me. He was like, do this, don't do this, try this out. This might help you get more sales. This might help, blah, blah, blah. And at the end, Armando's like, dude, like, we're competitors. Like, I know I'm just getting in this game, but is this how everybody is? And he's like, I don't know. The way I look at it is there's enough people in the archery industry. We don't have to compete. We can each sell a product to a different person and be good with that. And Armando goes, dude, you and me are going to be best friends. They're still friends. Like, they still talk. Yeah. And he told me this on the phone, and I'm like, dude, you guys are crazy. And he's like, nah, man, if we're ever at the same place together, I'm going to introduce you to him because he's a good dude. I was like, yeah, all right.
Yeah, I got to meet David and Crystal at the Iowa Deer Classic, and though David is just a really cool dude, and Stanley Crystal, they were really nice, and I got a hat along with my collection, as you can see over there, all of my lovely hats. I got more hats, so I actually got to build a third row because I have so many of them. Now, the reason why I grabbed my bow down is I want to show you something that I got. So I found this guy. It's from Accurate Archery, and what it is a sight tape light, and it's designed for anything that has tape on it. And now it just mounts, as you can see right here. Now this is ambidextrous, so it'd go for left and right, but I'm hoping this will register on the screen here. Yeah, see, it lights up your tape. Yeah, it lights up your tape. So, and it's like I wasn't quite sure about it, but it's like then I had some flashbacks of this previous season where I've had deer and also like random wildlife come around me. It's like, but I couldn't see them, but it's like, all I have is my headlamp. So like, if I turn my headlamp on, it's going to be bright. And it's like, and so it's like, well, this is kind of frustrating. And he, at the show, it's like, I don't know if he sold out of them, but he did a really good job with partnering up a couple of different outfitters and outdoorsmen and stuff like that to really branch his product. But it's like the price point's it's made in America. It's only $29.99. If you see him at an event, it's usually $20. So this way, but it's really neat. It's really easy to install. The nice thing is he gives you an extra pack of batteries because we all forget. I mean, we'll walk out and we'll leave it on, and all of a sudden we'll forget to shut it off. But yeah, look at that. I mean, it's just absolutely bright.
It's really bright too.
Now I have a reel on my face or Instagram where I put it in my back room where it's just completely pitch black, and I turned it on. I think I sent you the video. It's like, dude, you should make that a reel. It's like, and I did. And it's just, but it's like, it shows how bright it really is. But he designed this for turkey, deer, anybody that's in those low light scenarios where you just need just enough to see your sight tape and go from there.
Well, and I can see it being perfect for like that last 5 minutes of legal shooting light where you're still good enough. You can see your pins are still good, but you just might need to have that little extra help adjusting your sight tape or seeing that bottom pin or whatever it is. You're still perfectly within legal light. But like for me, legal shooting light ends 5 to 10 minutes before because it gets so dark. You can't see nothing. I can't see my pins. Why would I take a shot? But I've seen deer clear as day in the moonlight. I just can't see my pins. So that's definitely what I immediately thought of when you sent me that.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good idea. And then also there's these are my new grips I put on. These are from Tiger Grips. They're new. They're only been around for since 2021, and it's just like Blizzard Skin or anything else like that. But they fit really nice and comfortable. But I redid it all and stuff like that, and I had some extra stuff, so I kind of blinged it out. But as you can tell, it matches my strings and stuff like that. And this is a big shout out to Anthony Schmidt in his SS Strings company there in La Crosse, and he did mine, he did my wife's, he's done the previous set on this bow too as well. So I always go to him just because of the quality that he puts into it, and they last me 3 years. I don't shoot a lot, so it's like, so for those who think like, well, why don't we replace them every 3 years? I don't shoot a lot. I shoot maybe 2,000 to 3,000 arrows a year. That's it. Now there's guys out there like you probably shoot maybe 5,000 to 10,000 a year, and where it's like you feel that urge to always go in and get them replaced. I don't shoot that much. I do most of my shooting doing 3D archery, and even still then I may be shooting maybe 50 arrows the entire day, because it's like I treat every shot like a cold shot. So I'm coming back, drawing, anchoring, and then letting go after I go through the whole process.
Yeah, and you're 100% right. Like I shoot a lot of arrows. I've never actually sat down and done the math, but like during the summertime, there'll be weeks where I'll shoot 1,000, maybe 2,000 in a week. Just going outside with 5-10 arrows, and I just launch them at whatever distance, and I'll do that for an hour or two. And so I'll shoot 2,000-4,000 arrows a week in the summer, just because it's Saturday. I go out in the morning, boys wake up, I come inside, they go down for a nap, I go back outside. They wake up, I come back in, dinner's over, they go to bed, I go back out. I'll shoot 200, 300, 400 arrows a day just because I want to. Why wouldn't I? I have the range to do it. So
I'm a little jelly of your range. So
yeah, I get that more than you think, actually. Yeah,
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, but I found A3 strings. Brett he's out of Washington, I believe, and he has some of the best strings that I've ever used. So I love the color combinations that he has. He's helped me out in a pinch. So I'm like, I'll buy your strings forever. They're good quality strings. They're bloodline fibers, no waxing. He pre-stretches them, so there's no stretching, there's no peep twist. I think I put 1,000 to 1,500 arrows through my Matthews with a brand new set of A3 strings on. And the poundage adjustment from the first to zero was point something. It was less than 0.6. I think it was 0.5 or 0.4 of a poundage difference. So it was 72.5, and then when I did it again, it was 72.1 or 72.0. Like it was spot on, and I just couldn't believe it. I messaged him immediately, and I was like, "Did I put too many twists in these? Like, did I break them? Because the poundage is not moving." And he's like, "No, that's the way I designed it." So good job. So he's got a great company as well, and I just love him. And he's always available for questions, which is a huge thing to me. So
that is a good customer service aspect. That's why like all of the sponsors that I have on my podcast, all my affiliate links, they all have great customer service. Like Nate and Chris for the RPG, they'll answer your questions anytime of night. Well, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, but then you have HHA, their customer service is just fantastic. That's why I've been with HHA before I even met Chris. It's like my first one was a slider pin. And I got one, Chris and I met, I got my new Tetra Max, and Alicia got one too. So what we did is we actually donated the rest and the previous sights to Tyson, so he can reuse those for somebody else. So we rehomed them for somebody else that can use them, because the sights they're well worth the money, but not everybody has the money to be able, the means to do it. So it's like, well, I'd rather give it to him. He's going to make sure it finds a good home. They're high quality, and it's like there's nothing wrong with them. That's the best part. And the warranty on them is lifetime. That's what I was sold on, because when I first got introduced to HHA, when I first bought my first Hoyt, because I had a simple 3-pin fuse, like $50 fuse. And it's like, it worked, it did the job. But then it's like, I wanted to go to a single pin. And it's like, I was comparing and contrasting in there. And I met Randy at Coyote Creek there in Rochester. And he gave me a story where he called up Chris, or called up their manufacturing manager or customer service. Could have been Chris. Tough to say. This was 5-6 years ago. And they practically sent him a brand new housing for him, and they got him ready to go for that weekend. So it's like, it kind of sealed the deal for me. So I dropped the $250 for the sight, and I loved it. And so I got my wife the exact same one, and she really likes, because she only shoots like a 40 to 45 pound draw. So the slider actually was quite comfortable for her, because then she can almost leave it white and then just kind of mark off where everything was at, and just kind of and then fine tune it from there. Because the way the system is set up is not quite the easiest. Then what I want to roll into next is the EZV sight. How do you like it?
So the EZV sight, I think this is probably like my top question I get every time I post anything with the EZV. I get like 5, 6, 7 comments, 10 DMs, everything. How do you like the EZV sight? And I say the same thing every time. If you are not a distance shooter, like 50 yards is your max, 100% go for it. It is a super fun sight. It's super easy to install. It's super heavy duty. It's really fun to shoot. But if you like shooting in that 50, 60, 70, 80, 100, 120 yards, that's where I say no. The whole concept of it is this, right?
Yes.
So that's the whole concept. And the concept is frame it. So if my nose is the vitals, you want to frame and he gives you like a target to practice on, so you can practice the framing, but you basically frame it and then you claim it. So you frame it and then you shoot. So it's a range finding and target sight at the same time. So essentially you could use it as a rangefinder. I never did, just because I didn't trust myself that much, but you frame it and then you claim it. Now, as you can see, the lower you get, the harder it is to see, right?
Yes.
So this is about, it looks like at 50 yards. And then past that, I mean, you're shooting on the bubble. So I shot it the entirety of last year on my Darton, because I figured, well, Darton's, it was a slower bow. It was a 62-pound bow. So I'm like, okay, it's going to be moving significantly slower than my Matthews is. So I'm not going to get those long distance with good trajectory anyway. So I was like, I'll throw this on there just to kind of play with it. And I loved it. Somebody actually asked when I posted a video of the new HHA sight, and they said, hey, if you're getting rid of your EZV, let me know. And I said, I'm not. I'll keep it. And I'll throw it back on that bow when I get a new Darton that it's at 70 pounds. I'll do that. But while I'm talking about the Darton, if you haven't yet, you need to check out the speed videos that I've done. So with this new chronograph that I bought, by the way, I bought a chronograph. I've been testing the 72-pound Matthews Traverse against the 62-pound Darton Maverick XT. And the difference is like 4 feet per second in every category.
Nice. That's really consistent. And I've shot Darton before in the past. Like, I have a buddy of mine that up in Green Bay he introduced me to the Maverick. I shot the Maverick 2, and I also shot the Spectra E. And boy, like the newest one that just came out, that's the one I want to shoot. But around here, nobody has it in stock. It's either Matthews, Hoyt, Bowtech, or Elite, or Expedition, depending on where you're at. And I think they're solid bows. They're really good price point. They're very competitive. I consider them like if you're looking between Athens, archery, Darton, and Expedition, they're all three high competitors right there. But it's like, overall, it's like that's their price point. But it's like, I think they compete just as well with Hoyts and Matthews as well. They just shoot so smooth.
Well, and that was the big thing so I've actually been communicating with Ted Harpin, who is the sales manager for Darton. And then I've exchanged a few emails with Randy Kitts, who is the CEO, or he just bought Darton. And that was the one thing I said every time. Nobody knows how good this bow is, only because nobody can shoot the bow. Like, there's one dealer in the entirety of South Dakota, and it's an hour-and-a-half drive from me. Who's going to drive an hour and a half to test a bow that they don't even know if they're going to want to buy, when they can go to Shields 20 minutes away and test Matthews, Hoyt, PSE? They got some Fred Bear there. I mean, why would you do that when, everybody preaches about Matthews, everybody talks about Hoyt, everybody is on the bandwagon of PSE? No one's going to want to go test a Darton that they've never even heard of before, when they could buy the top 3 brands right there. So that was the biggest thing I said to Randy and Ted. I said, you guys got to get more reach out there, or even start a program where you can direct ship to someone's house, give them, insurance on the bow, let them try it out, let them set it up and shoot it, and then send it back if they don't want it. There's not going to be very many people sending it back. People are going to, as soon as they get their hands on one of these Dartons, the first thing they're going to say is, why have I been shooting Matthews the whole time? You know what I mean? Like, it's outstanding how smooth of a bow it is. And nothing against Matthew. I've shot Matthew for many years. It's a great bow. But you don't know how great the other bows are until you shoot them. And that's where I'm at right now.
I would completely understand that, because it's like Expedition and Darton are two underrated bows. And the nice thing, like Kurt and those guys, they don't advertise, they don't pay to be in some of these awards, because some of these awards companies that they do their top builds, stuff like that. Well, a lot of these guys will, if you pay us X amount, you kind of pretty much pick and choose your spot on the spectrum and such, depending on how much you give them. But I like that how these guys all only don't pay for their publicity. They use the culture to brag about them. Similar to what Matt with VIP archery, he doesn't pay for his studies and stuff like that. He does everything independently, and it goes from there. And it's like, the cool thing is, like, he gets feedback from people using his broadheads from Australia, Austria, from Germany, from Mexico, all across the North America continent here. So it's like, that's his test group. And we talked about the lethality, and his broadheads have anywhere between a 94 to 97% return rate of harvesting. And that's through his 20 years of experience, stuff like that, getting feedback from people in Australia, from Africa, all that fun stuff. And with this new set of broadheads that are coming out, he's got a direct guy that deals with safaris in Africa, that's going to be shooting animals every single day the next 8 months with his broadheads, because of how booked up the trips are.
Well, and that's the thing. That's why you can't be. I mean, I'm not saying there's bad, like the Rage broadheads. I was hooked on the Rage train the first time they came out back in 2005 or whatever. That was the first broadheads I bought. No one's discrediting any other broadheads, but there's something to be said about people or companies in general that pay for advertising, and then companies that get free advertising because of how great their product is. I'm not dissing anybody. I mean, you got the best arrows in the world. You can advertise them however you want, but it just seems more genuine when you got a smaller company that's like, no, we can't afford it, and yet it's blowing up because everybody and their mother is going, check out this company, it's the best company in the world. Like, that's where the bow hitch is at. That's where
the Bow Spider
technology is at. The
yes.
Bow Spider.
Yeah, there's all these small companies. It's like, it's us talking about it. And the cool thing is, like, I don't knock any broadheads, because I've shot Green Reapers, I've shot Rages, and they all work. They all definitely work. And it's like, it comes down to user preference. And the best part is, it's like, if you're a good shot, it doesn't matter what broadhead you're going to use. You can kill a deer with a field point.
Well, and that's the thing that I've always preached. Everyone's like, oh, what broadhead do you use? What broadhead? I lose stiff, and I'm looking for a good fixed blade because I want to break shoulder. And I'm like, don't aim for the shoulder. If you want to have a broadhead that's going to break the shoulder, you're aiming at the wrong spot. You should be aiming behind the shoulder. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand prep for the worst case scenario. I completely get that. But in my experience, I very rarely shoot ahead. I generally shoot behind. So in that case, I'm getting lungs, ribs. That's about it. An expandable is going to cut a lot more than a fixed blade. So in my experience, I have a better success rate with an expandable on a not so good shot than I do with a fixed blade on a not so good shot, just because, you're cutting more. You have better surface area, all the science behind it. But I don't knock anything either. I'm a tinkerer, so I tinker with everything. I got expandables, I got hybrids, I got fixed blades, I got rubber O-rings, I got magnetic ones, I got tons of different broadheads, because I might have 3 or 4 different ones in my quiver, because I'm going to get them all tuned the same. They're all going to fly straight. It's going to be perfect. I just, if I'm hunting with an extra doe tag, I might break out a broadhead I haven't shot yet, just to see if it works or not.
Yeah, I can really relate that. Like in my quiver right now, I have the Combat Veteran, the Veteran, the Atom, and Rage. just in case if like for some odd reason, like where I hunt in Wisconsin, I can have 4 different tags, 3 for doe, 1 for buck. So it's then, or if I get a little squirrely, I see a squirrel that I want to put an arrow in. It's like, well, let's see what this does to this animal here, or a rabbit, because I always get a small game license. It's like I'm not going to not capitalize on my opportunities of being out there, because we've all been in there and we all have that same fucking squirrel. It's like I wish I had somebody I could shoot it with, where I'm not going to feel bad if I destroy the arrow.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So yeah, I don't diss anybody. The only time I diss anything is poor customer service. That is the thing that I don't care if you have the best product in the world, with crappy customer service, you lost me. I'm not going to be there. It's just not worth the hassle to me. And I'm getting to that point with a couple products that I have right now. I'm getting kind of tossed around and I don't like it. And I don't want to throw anybody on the bus right now, but I've been waiting. Like I'm missing a part on one of my pieces of equipment. The part broke and it's not supposed to break. It's under warranty and everything. I've been talking with the company. They're sending me the part, but it's been like a month and a half process that I've been talking this through. And they sent me one part that was the wrong part. So then they asked me what the right part was. So I sent them the right part. And then they sent me a graph to tell me what part it was. So I told them the part it was, and that was 3 weeks ago. And I'm just like, I'm not just going to go buy a new one at the rate that we're going, because by the time you get it to me, I've already missed setting up my bow with it. I've already missed the key opportunities I need it for. And I'm just like, I just don't know what else I can do. So customer service for me is the deal breaker. You can have the best product in the world. If you got crappy customer service, chances are I'll be doing business elsewhere.
Yeah, I'm saying both there too. My current company I started in customer service and got where I'm at, and I got to work with veterans and people that survived 9/11, volunteers and such, also working with MEPS and the reserve program and such. And so it's like we're dealing with people's careers here. So I wanted to be the best in the best, a wife and kids. And if we're waiting on products to begin the next project or moving into the next hunting season, you're really losing me here, bud. So I wanted to move into something new. I think you'd actually appreciate that. I was just found out that last year they've started to see paddlefish moving back into Minnesota, where they haven't been in decades. Now, the reason being is that they removed a couple of dams outside of Laverne and Pipestone area there, and now they're seeing paddlefish moving upstream.
That's actually really cool. There's a spot that is, I don't want to say famous for paddle fishing, but in Yankton, South Dakota, it's right on the river, and you see people paddle fishing out there all the time, obviously during season. But I mean, it's crazy. I've never actually been paddle fishing, but I've always said if I ever was going to get into fishing, that would be the kind I would get into.
Well, the cool thing is, like, one of my guests, Justin Fiskajohn, he actually just lives on the other side of the state in North Dakota, and he actually caught the world record in 2017. It was 85 pounds. And this record only lasted like a year. Then the following year, somebody caught one at like 86 and some ounces. And now the newest world record was caught in Nebraska last year at 92 pounds. And this is all through bow and arrow. That's it. Because I watched his videos and stuff like that from last season, or over the last few seasons. All you see is this little fin that sticks up above the water. And the thing is like, it's all the way in the back. So it's like this little fin's here, but then you have the bodies all up here in the paddle. So you have to shoot someplace in here and actually moose it and actually hit it. He says he'll probably shoot 200 to 300 times trying to get after one when they come through and such. And it's not uncommon to pull 60, 70 pounds, but him getting that world record, you got it mounted. He got a plaque for it. So this registered as a world record. So it's a really good podcast that we recorded here last year.
You're going to have to forward that to me, because bow fishing is the only type of fishing I like. And I don't do it a lot, but I got a buddy down in Texas who's got the whole boat set up and the lights and everything. It is so much fun. Holy smokes.
That was supposed to be my bachelor party in 2019, but we ended up getting a storm coming, so we weren't able to capitalize on it. So we ended up pounding back some brewskis and throwing axes at a wall. So that was fun. It was a good trade-off, but it was like we all would have preferred going up there, because then it's like it would have been that whole camaraderie and having fun, like then all of us like archery, and with the Asian carp and such, them all flying out. And I was also learned that how they handle carp is that carp tend to be social fish. Like in the wintertime, they'll actually school together, and they'll in some bodies of water, the DNR have actually put little tracking devices in the carp, and they use that to pattern them throughout the year and where they like to bank up on the sides of the rivers. And so what they'll do is they'll actually come in, cut out a 10 yard by 10 yard square and pull all the ice out, and they'll just take a net and they'll pull all of them up, and they'll bag hundreds at a time because they pool together to stay warm in however they work out. But I watched some videos on TikTok and YouTube and saw how they just like they swim all over each other like it would be in a feeding frenzy in a with throwing bread out there on the water. Because there's some areas that have been like on Lake Madison there where you can, after a good hard rain, the carp come to the top and you can start throwing bread out there and they'll come up and they'll slurp it down and such.
That's crazy. Carp, I mean, I did not see my first carp until, I don't know, it must have been, I was well into my teens, and it was just because the creek that ran through our town had a little spillover, and apparently one summer they moved in and just loved it. So I never really caught any carp. I never wanted to catch a carp. And then I go down to Texas and hang out with my buddy, and he's like, let's go bow fishing. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And it is a riot. And he has the Texas state record, like 1 through 5 for buffalo carp. Like he's caught the record for the first through the 5th place. And we shot one down there, and it was like a 36 pounder. And I was like, this is huge. And his state record's like 50 or 60 pounds. Like it's absurd how big this thing is. But he has a bow, and he has 2 or 3 bows knocked up at all times. And so he'll go and he'll shoot. And if he hits a big one, then he'll lock that bow up and pull another one out and put another arrow in it. And he'll do that as many times as he needs to get the arrow in, or to get the fish up. And it's like, you're a mad scientist. So it was really cool though, because he's a veteran and I'm a veteran. We're both good friends. We work with an organization called Over the Edge Outdoors. Huge, really good organization. If you ever want to talk to somebody on the podcast, his name's Chris. He's a really good guy. He runs basically a hunting community for veterans with PTSD, very similar to HHA USA now. But just he does it more of the hunting instead of 3D shoot. So he takes people out hunting hogs in Texas and all that stuff. But anyways, so we were shooting on this boat, and we were at each other's necks the entire night, like just jab, jab, jab. You're better, I'm worse. Blah 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 blah. Until this fish, he sees this fish and he goes, "Oh, it's a big one," and I don't know what it is. So simultaneously on video, we both draw back and shoot the exact same time, and then we both hit the same carp.
Oh, that's crazy.
So I think they actually have a promo video of it out. You see us, it's like a side view, and you see us both like, and it's like simultaneously as it gets, and we both just drilled this carp in different spots. And you see in the video, both of us just like look at each other like, do we just become best friends? Like, that's crazy. I can't believe that happened. So we ended up reeling it in. I actually had to shoot it again because that was the 36-pound carp. So I had to shoot it again so we could pull it up. And oh man, it was a blast. It was a blast.
Now, I'm not sure if this is accurate or not, because I'm not 100% sure, but I know some areas along the Mississippi, there were ponds that actually had them stocked. And what ended up happening is one of the flooding times, and maybe it was the early 90s when Iowa went through their flooding, and all along the Mississippi, like there was a massive amounts of water, and the Des Moines River flooded and such. And maybe that's how some of them got in there. There's no way of tying them together, but that's what I believe. That one theory is that waters rose so much, filled up those ponds, and those ponds spilled over into the Mississippi, and then they ran from there. They're all throughout Iowa and up through Illinois, Arkansas, and such. Now, the reason why they're not too much in Wisconsin and in Minnesota is our dam system. And they've also figured out ways to actually increase the amount of water force that's traveling through them to keep them from jumping into the next levee. That's why they've been capped in certain spots, and why they can't get any further than that. I know. I think it was right when I started first dating my wife. I think it was either 2015 or 2016. The DNR down there in Illinois, they ran and they shocked the water, and they pulled out like 6 or 7 truckfuls of the 53-foot long trailers full of just carp, and that really curved the amount there, because I mean they reproduce like rabbits and pigs and such, and that really has dropped them down. But you can still hear them, but they're not as prevalent as they once were, because even in the wintertime you can hear them barging, and when the barges come up the Illinois River, you can hear them running into the side of the walls, because the vibration just gets them agitated, and they start moving in, they start trying to jump, but they end up charging right into the barges. It's something interesting to see. And then it's unique because when if they die, they'll come to the top and you'll see the bald eagles come down swooping, because there's bald eagles all up and down the Mississippi.
That's awesome. Speaking of bald eagles, sidetrack, bunny trail, there is a nesting pair of bald eagles like right on the interstate here in South Dakota. I drive by it every morning.
That's awesome. Man, you should come to La Crosse. You'd be blown away for how many would you see. And you usually see when the seagulls come up from down south, and they kind of get into a little turf war there in La Crosse, because the seagulls will fly up the Mississippi, and since the ice has been breaking up, they kind of meet each other, and they don't monkey with each other too much, because the seagulls can be quite big. They're a little bit bigger than bald eagles, but boy, if they catch one with an attitude, or maybe an adolescent that's between that 1 to 5 years old, and to get into a little fight. And I haven't seen too many pictures of it, but they tend to be neutral towards each other. They don't get too aggressive, but when it comes into food, you can see some fights in the water.
Yeah, and I just got done watching. It's a series on Netflix called Animals. If you haven't watched it yet, check it out. There's an episode called Birds of Prey, which I'm obsessed with. I love hawks, falcons, eagles, all that stuff. Just it's so cool how like critically designed to kill they are. But they do a whole like mini thing on bald eagles, and they talk about how the pairs are pairs for life. They're mated for life. If one dies, they don't breed again. They're with their kids for like 5 or a year or 2 after they're born, and just like the whole process, how the dad goes and hunts and brings it back to the mom who's sitting on the nest. And then I saw those eagles, and I was just like, oh, like I'm Googling like, what is the federal restrictions on using a drone within X amount of yards of an eagle's nest? Because there's like federal protections against them.
Oh, so they'll destroy them. You don't do that. They don't.
No, it's illegal.
Well, yeah, even around here, which is understandable. But around here, like people want to take pictures of the Mississippi, or they want to get something, the eagles will attack them. They'll just destroy them. They'll think they're an oncoming predator. Like my sister-in-law's boyfriend has one, and he wants to fly it around the bank, stuff like that. But there's so many nesting eagles, he doesn't want to risk it, because it's like the drone was like a couple of grand, and he doesn't want them coming and destroying it and just nosediving it. So it's like you have to be very careful, because like even though granted yes, they are legal to fly around, but they are highly aggressive and they think they're invaders. So it's like you don't want to lose your $1,000 or plus drone when you're just having fun with it. You have no intention for it, and all of a sudden it's like you're just going like, oh, there it goes, because there's an eagle destroying it.
Just gone. Well, and that was the thing. So every time I drive by it, I'm like, okay, where can I get a decent picture of this thing at? Because I mean, you can tell it's an eagle's nest. It's huge.
Yeah.
And then you see this little white bald eagle sitting in it the entire time. And then in the mornings, the dad is in a tree right behind it, like just scouting for food. So it's just, I don't know. It's crazy. I'm a bald eagle nut. Birds of prey are like the most fascinating creatures in the world to me. And it was just, you don't see many bald eagles in South Dakota. You really don't. And this year I've seen like almost a dozen.
Yeah, they're starting to move away from like, because I see a lot around Mississippi, just because it's just we always have open water, but you go up and down the Iowa-Wisconsin border into Illinois.
I'm Jake with HHA Sports, and today we're going to talk a little bit about our Dovetail Sights and how they're going to fit on the new Matthews V3X. So as you'll see, I have a Tetra Max Tournament Edition sight on this 33-inch V3X. All of our Dovetail sights, the Tetra and the Tetra Max, will fit on the V3X. Also, in the next couple of weeks, you'll see us come out with a shorter Dovetail version. It'll just be our short bar version, which will also fit on the V3X on both the 29 and 33-inch model. One question that we've gotten pretty frequently lately is the windage adjustments on your Tetra and Tetra Max bow sights on the new Matthews bow. And this year we came out with the infinite adjust plate, which you'll see on the front end of your sight. So when you
They're all around, and they're absolutely gorgeous. If you happen to make it out here for the shoot, if you can make it out here on a Friday, which is even better, because then this way, then you can have the night to relax instead of having to do all that driving on Saturday morning. Because I mean, it's a 5.5 hour drive, but I-90 is fucking boring. I don't care who you are; it is so boring. I've driven it so many times. It's like I am just like over it. But I can show you some of the things that I get to that I get the privilege of seeing all these bald eagles and how they interact and how all the nests you see and such. Especially right now, we're seeing this transition of feathers flying off and such, and the birds are coming up and going northbound because it's starting to get warmer here, so they're going to keep going north and such as the season progresses. It's just really pretty. It's something that I appreciate, because growing up in central Iowa, north central Iowa, we didn't really have a whole lot of bald eagles. And if we saw one, it was fantastic. And then when I moved here, I see them all over the place. I'm still in awe. We actually have pull-offs. So this way you can actually pull off, not on necessarily a 90, but there's several spots where you can pull off the highway or pull into rest areas and you can watch them.
See, and that's crazy because, like, I remember back like 10 years ago, seeing a bald eagle in South Dakota was like, oh, bald eagle, take your pictures out, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Now, they follow the snow geese up every spring. So every spring you can count on seeing a handful of them. But this year, I seen one in December in a ditch by Vermilion. It was just chilling in the ditch eating a rabbit. I'm like, what the heck? I saw another one making a nest in the middle of Davis. And then this one, I'm just like, this would be the coolest thing in the world. Get bald eagles in here year round. Heck yeah, let's go. Because as soon as they start making a nest, other ones or them will come back and use that nest every time. So it's like we're gonna have bald eagles here forever.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's the best part, because once they feel like once a couple of pairs feel like it's safe, then you'll start seeing them move in, and it just becomes really cool. Especially if you're running lock and dam where the water never actually fully freezes over. That's where you see the most activity, because you'll just see them perched up waiting for something to jump up, and a lot of times it can be carp or something like that, or pike when they're going low body and stuff like that. But it's not uncommon to actually have fishermen develop relationships with them, because it's not uncommon to see them on TikTok or on the reels where you're seeing people call for them and toss them perch or bluegills or whatever they have to feed them. It's always unique in how receptive they are. And it's like, I think that's the only animal I'd actually condone feeding. It's like the only one I don't condone feeding. A couple of them that I don't condone feeding is raccoons, bears, and alligators and crocodiles, because it's like once they get comfortable with humans, you can never get rid of them. That's the sad part.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what it is. They're invasive. They're going to be there forever. They're going to start coming. Bears, as soon as they find a good trash can, they will be there every night. That's why they have to be located so many miles away. So, and they're dangerous. It'd be one thing if it was like a raccoon. Granted, they are semi-dangerous, but it's like a foot long. You can just punt that thing. A bear, if they want in your house, they're going to break down the front door.
Oh yeah, it's definitely quite scary. Knock on wood, the bear have been pretty, like the ones around here in Wisconsin, they don't tend to walk up to houses and stuff. They've kind of got that respect, but it's not uncommon to hear about them walking around. And not all bears hibernate year round too. I mean, got pictures of one way up north that was walking around in the middle of January where the high was 0.
I've heard that. I actually heard that too, that all bears try to hibernate, but some of them either don't get enough fat, so they wake up halfway through, or they just they don't sleep for whatever reason. They sleep for a couple days and then wake up, and it was just crazy. I was listening to that on the Meat Eater podcast, I think, where they're like, they'll do these researches, and these bears will literally, for the first 2 years they're alive, they will not stop to hibernate. They just go. So it was just crazy to see that.
Did you hear about I think this was probably either in the below 100 or between 100 and 200 on the Meat Eater podcast, that we have a super sow over close by Madison area where it's constantly always producing 4 cubs every couple of years, because it's like all the factors are right what it needs to be able to produce that many that consistently. So she's kind of like the queen bee around. So there's a lot of people watching out to make sure there's no adolescent boar trying to make its mark going after its cubs and stuff like that, because they're carnivores. So it's like it's quite sad, but it's just how they are. It's just nature for you.
Well, and that's actually, so a lot of species actually do that because they say it's because it'll bring the females back into heat. When you have these species that have long gestation periods and long dependency periods, like bears are with their moms on the teat for like the first 2 years.
Yes.
So when you have these long prolonging cubs, they think that if they kill the cubs, then the female will go back into heat. But they were doing studies with bears, at least, that it doesn't actually work. Like the female's hormones are so specifically set up that she doesn't actually start going back into heat till the cubs are already like ready to be out of the house. So
Interesting.
it's like they're trying to figure out why the actual reason the bears do it, because they like with lions, that is the reason. When they kill the cubs, then their cycle sets back over and they can get pregnant again. And so when a new lion comes in and takes over a pride, he kills all the cubs or banishes them so that he can start mating the females again. And bears, they're like, yeah, that's not what happens with female bears. So we don't know why the male bear kills the cubs. He just does. And we don't understand why. So I thought that was interesting too.
That is interesting because I can understand like with lions. I don't understand that psychology of it all because they'll kill them all off because they don't want to be raising another lion's cubs and such like that. So they want to start off all fresh, kind of like what happens when a divorced mom or a single mom already has a kid, and the new stepdad comes in and has 1 to 3 kids, kind of separate her from the offspring. So this way she's more focused on theirs. It's not done intentionally, but that's just biologically how it all is. I mean, I'm a product of a divorced family, so I know what happens when the stepdad comes in, has kids of their own, and then it's like the other previous relationship kind of get pushed back on the burner in a sense, and it just kind of becomes complicated because now it's like the mom is now focused on the youngest ones, and hopefully the older two will do whatever they need to. And it usually comes into a lot of independence when you have that separation at a young age and such.
Well, and that's what this documentary said too. They're like, if they're like above 2 years old, then they kind of gun it and just kind of do their own thing. And the females have it really easy because they just can get hooked up with another pride, or they'll find a stray male, that maybe a younger one, and they'll meet up to team up, and then they'll start their own pride, and then other rejects will kind of come and join them. But the males, they said, honestly, males got to book it twice as hard because they're being hunted for territory purposes too. And they either got to, they got to get big fast, or they got to figure out good ways to hide so that they can kind of get prepared for fighting season. But they said there's a lot of lion deaths, but the majority of them are older lions fighting, mature lions. So it's not a lot of like adolescent males getting killed, which is why they can keep reproducing. But they said there's a lot of violence because you'll have a male come in and they actually go in pairs. Did you know that? There's there can be like multiple different male lions in a pride. So like they were saying on this thing that most of the time, like brothers will grow up to run the pride. And so they'll like the Lion King, they'll work with dad. And then when dad gets too old, they'll allow him to stay and the brothers will step up and take it. So these dads that are having 2, 3, 4 kids that are males are actually turning out to run the pack. And then obviously it comes to genetics. So the 2 or 3 brothers that are the strongest will lead, and it'll kind of flow down from there. But they said like family packs actually stick together a lot. So you'll have multi-generational lions in one family because there's just that respect of, now you understand that your son is the boss and you just get to hang back and eat. And there's that mutual respect. So the killing comes from when there's like a big male lion with young cubs and 2 brothers come roaming in and they're like, easy pickings, 2 on 1. And so that's how they'll kill these older lions because they have more people. Or the male lion will just get smart and it'll just ditch and just like deuces, see you later. But these male lions are hunting in packs. Like I did not know. I thought there was 1 male lion per pride, but they're like, no, there can be up to like 3 if they're on good standings with each other. And I'm like, what? Like that's insane.
Yeah, it is. I learned something new every day.
Yeah, Animals on Netflix. If you haven't watched it yet, check it out. I'm
gonna have to check that out now because that sounds like an interesting story. I always like checking out those new evolutions. I like watching the one that go underwater and such, and it's always interesting to see what they come across, and like especially when they go into the deep cryptoid stuff, when they see these monstrous squids and such. And I don't know if you saw this, but Discovery did they were tracking down maybe it was the marine biologists out there in San Diego. and that's where like a lot of great whites will tend to just kind of hang out there for during the breeding cycle and whatever else to do. Well, there was it was a 10 or 12 foot female shark that was swimming around their normal 50, 60 feet. And all of a sudden something came in and like the temperature wage on the GPS was like 40 degrees, like typical average temperature. Well, all of a sudden something bigger than that ate it. And the reason why they know is that tracker, actually the bot, how they could tell it was in the belly, it jumped all up to like 70 degrees. But what would made this different from most great whites is it went down several hundred feet. And there's thoughts to be there's actually megalodons still out there. There's also a blue whale out there that's missing a 20-meter section of like how that hump comes down, and they have the tail right above that missing, just clear chunk out of it. They've caught it on camera and stuff like that, and they don't know what took a bite out of it. So like there's something down there that they don't want to tell us about.
I'm never going in the ocean again. Well, it's just like aliens too. We can't go down this rabbit hole right now.
But we can always go down that rabbit hole on my After Dark podcast. And so this way we had that freedom to go where we want to go with it and stuff like. But I've heard different theories about aliens, because it's like if there truly was an alien race out there, why aren't they stopping by and picking us up, kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy? If they're supposed to be this whole ecosystem, it's like, why aren't we having these interactions and stuff like that? Are we just a matrix? Are we a ant farm for somebody's amusement? The theories are wild.
It's really crazy, and honestly, it's you can see it from both perspectives. You can see like why this makes sense and why this makes sense and why this makes sense and all this stuff, and I'm just. It's a rabbit hole that is meant for your after hours podcast that we'll have to do.
Yeah, definitely, man. Well, Ben, this has been an awesome conversation. We're at a little over 2 hours, man. We've covered a lot of fun topics, and everybody listen to us. Like, check out the bow hitch, bow spider. What is it? The accurate archery yardage marker tape that we demonstrated earlier. AOT
technology.
Yes. So there's a lot of shout outs here for everybody. And the cool thing is that those who follow us, we're always posting or tagging these manufacturers with us because they make phenomenal products.
And that's the thing. Customer service and a good product that isn't just some flashy thing that the definition of a good product for everybody that's wondering. Levi Morgan at the ATA show this year just dropped his new one-piece arrow that comes with the broadhead screwed in. Check it out. It made Bowhunter Dye's YouTube channel like top 3 best products, but it's literally a system that you can buy the entire arrow together with field tip and broadhead already included, all built together, ready to shoot. And there are these new special schwackers that screw into the ferrule that have their own outsert system with it. So that is it's all in one package, right? That's the perfect product. That's what I'm talking about when I say the bow hitch, the bow spider, AOT. Those are the products that means it's a good product, not just, oh yeah, this will look really cool on your bow and it'll turn colors. And no, it has a purpose. It serves a purpose. That is the product.
100%. Well, thank you, Ben, for this conversation. Always a pleasure, man.